our application allows you to create projects, to keep track of your time, to see reports and have everything stored. But it has a huge flaw. What happens if you've been using the app and someone calls you, or if you close your app, if you open another app, if your battery runs out? Well, basically you lose everything because we're not storing stuff anywhere besides the actual memory of the phone. So we want to keep that stored, so that if I close the app and open it again, I don't have to create the projects again. I don't lose all of my records, because that would make the app basically useless. And we want to have this, we want to create something that can be used on a daily basis. So what we'll do is get into what's called local storage. It's one of the properties of HTML5 that's well supported by the BlackBerry 10 platform. I'm just removing some stuff from previous examples that I carried out. But we'll analyze the app and think where exactly we would need this. For instance, if you create a new project, you want this new project to be added. Sorry, I was just removing a previous version of the same example. If you create a new project, you want that to be saved in the local storage, because you don't want to have to create new projects each time you use the app. That wouldn't make any sense. Also, when you start tracking time, you want to be able to like, if you close the app, if you start tracking your time and then you close the app and you open it again, you want to be able to see the number of hours or minutes that have been that have passed since you started tracking, not since you opened or closed the app, because that wouldn't make any sense. So that's another thing you want to save. You also want to save the moment when you stop tracking, when you create a record, because these records, you don't want to lose them every time. When you delete a record, you also want that to be saved. And of course, when you delete a project, that's also a moment when you want that to be permanently deleted from the local storage as well. Otherwise, you would close and open the app and the projects that you deleted would be there. That would make no sense and would be of no use to anybody. So let's start by focusing on the moments when things are created. Let's see when we create a project. So when we create a project, we are storing that in our projects ztiempo.projects object. So what we'll add is this code here. It refers to the local storage. We're setting a new item. We're going to call that new item projects. And here's the thing, you can't store full objects. You need to store them as strings. You can only store numbers and strings. So I'll use json.stringify, which is a method that allows you to transform an object into a string. So every time I create a new project, I'm updating the whole array, and then I'm saving that whole array into my local storage. Same thing, we'll do the same thing when we create a new record. When we toggle the tracking, if we stop the timer, we're creating a new record, right? You've seen that, and so we'll save that into our local storage as well, using the same similar code as we did before. It's going to be called records json.stringify ztiempo.records. Now, what happens when we initiate the time tracking? Well, we need to save that too. So we'll start by saving this change of status. If it's true, it's going to be saved as a string that says true. It's not going to be like a boolean true. So that's relevant, because if it's false, and then you have to check that it's equal to the string too, not that it's just present. You'll see what I mean in shortly. So we also want to update this part here in case we didn't actually save anything because there weren't any projects to save. We also want that to be stored as false. And if when we are initiating our counter, we want to store what project it is that we're saving. So we use stringify again for the track project, and the started time. Right. We then want to save stuff when we delete things. We want that to be saved too. So let's go to delete record, and that's when we delete a record. We also want to have our records element updated, and same thing when we delete a project. We also want to have this we have projects deleted, like updating the local storage. Alright, so you're able now to save a few things, but you also need to be able to load them up. And what we'll do is add some checkups. We initiate an empty projects list, but then we check that if there's a storage an element in the storage called projects, we'll get that, and we do the opposite as stringify, which is parse, and that allows us to transform a string into an object. And when it comes to dates, we do something a bit different. So for records, we get it all back to object, but for the dates, we rehydrate them like this, because they don't get rehydrated properly. And also, if we are tracking time, which we're comparing to the string true, because that's what it will be saved like, then we set is tracking true, and then what the time is. We also like rehydrate it using the same methodology. And the track project, we also parse it from the local storage. So that should be working, unless I made some mistake, which is quite likely. Let's begin tracking, see if that's working to begin with. Yeah, so we keep on tracking, right? If we stop, and then I have a record here, right? If I reload the page, and that record should still be there, and I can delete it, and then reload the page, and that record is of course gone. We'll track time again. Let's try with the projects. By the way, you're seeing projects that I had previously created, because they all stay in the local storage. So if you want to get rid of them, like, you can go to resources here and then find local storage, find your local host, and you can see the value of each one of them, and you can also change it if you want. So these are all very useful debugging tools. You can delete particular items, but that could of course mess things up a little bit. Let's reload the page and see that this keeps on tracking. It still hasn't been a minute. Really slow apparently. Let's delete this one, and we'll reload the page again, and the project is actually gone. So what we have now is a fully functional time tracking app that can allow a freelancer to keep track of the time they dedicate to different projects. Or if you're not a freelancer or anything, you just want to have a record of how much time you spend on different things and visualize basic totals and reports. This is an app that you can use for that. And right, cool.